There is a strange feeling hanging over TCO Performance Center right now. You can feel it in the air, Minnesota fans. It is that heavy sense of uncertainty that comes when a franchise reaches a crossroads. We all want that Super Bowl, but the path there feels blurred lately. Something is changing behind the scenes with our quarterbacks, and the pressure is mounting for everyone involved. For the faithful who bleed purple, this is a moment of truth. Before we dive into the latest shift, hit that like button and subscribe. Real fans know the stakes have never been higher. The news that has everyone talking today centers around our young quarterback JJ McCarthy and the veteran presence of Kyler Murray. For weeks, there has been this lingering question about whether JJ still has a future here after everything that went down last season. The arrival of Kyler Murray felt like a signal, a clear message that the Vikings were moving in a different direction. But here is the thing that many people missed in the chaos. The Vikings were never actually going to trade JJ McCarthy this offseason. Reports are surfacing now that despite the rumors, Minnesota is digging in their heels with the former 10th overall pick. It is a truly fascinating situation because it connects directly to our team identity. We have always been a franchise that tries to balance the present with the future. But right now, those two things are colliding in the quarterback room. Now this is where it gets interesting. Even with Murray coming in on a veteran minimum deal, the organization is making it clear that JJ is staying put. They have already paid out about 70% of his rookie contract, which makes a trade almost impossible from a financial standpoint. Why would you give away a young asset for a fourth-round pick when you have already invested so much draft capital and cash into him? It creates this incredible tension because Kyler is expected to be the starter. He has the Pro Bowls and the experience that JJ just hasn't shown yet. But the Vikings are refusing to close the door on the kid they drafted to be the face of the franchise just a year ago. It feels like they are trying to protect themselves while also hoping for a miracle. There is a sense of concern among the fan base, because we saw the struggles last year. The 72.6 passer rating was truly hard to watch. It was a major reason why things fell apart. But the front office isn't ready to call it a bust. They are keeping him in the building, hoping that the presence of a guy like Kyler Murray acts as a shock to the system. It is about emotional resilience and seeing if JJ can find that competitive spark again under pressure. When you look deeper into why the Vikings are holding on to JJ McCarthy, you start to see the massive emotional and strategic risks involved. The consequences of this decision will ripple through the roster for years. If Kyler Murray takes the field and looks like the Pro Bowler we know he can be, JJ becomes an expensive backup who is losing valuable developmental reps. But what if Kyler struggles? What if the injury concerns that have followed him throughout his career in Arizona pop again? That is the nightmare scenario we have lived through too many times recently in Minnesota. Remember the carousel of 2023 with Dobbs and Mullins, or last year when we were forced to play Max Brosmer. Kevin O'Connell has seen how bleak it gets when you don't have a reliable plan B. That is the hidden pressure behind keeping McCarthy. They aren't just keeping him because of the contract, they are keeping him as a desperate insurance policy. But there is a psychological layer to this that we have to discuss. Bringing in Murray is meant to be a wake-up call for JJ. The reports suggest the team wants him to refocus on his mechanics and decision-making. It is a gamble on his maturity. And a young player who was told he was the future handle being relegated to a backup role. Some fans are worried this will crush his confidence completely. Others think it is the tough love he needs to finally take that massive leap in processing and accuracy. The roster impact is significant because every spot counts when you are trying to stay a contender in a tough division. By keeping 3 quarterbacks, including Carson Wentz, the Vikings are sacrificing depth elsewhere to ensure they never have to experience that 2023 collapse again. It shows a lack of total faith in any one individual. It is a cautious approach, but in the NFL, caution can sometimes lead to stagnation. We are watching a high-stakes game of poker within our own locker room. The uncertainty is palpable because we don't know which version of these players will show up. Will we see the Kyler Murray, who dominated for stretches, or the one who has struggled to stay healthy? And will JJ McCarthy use this as fuel, or will he fade away into the background forever? But this is where things change. And we have to look at what this really means for the long-term health of the Minnesota Vikings. This isn't just about a backup quarterback. It is about the fundamental evaluation of the most important position in sports. If the Vikings were wrong about JJ McCarthy being a top 10 talent, the future implications are devastating for the front office. That is why they can't trade him yet. To trade him now for a late-round pick would be an admission of a massive failure. They are essentially doubling down on their investment, hoping that time and a different environment will fix what went wrong in 2025. And that is the biggest question hanging over this entire season. Are we just delaying the inevitable? This could become something much bigger if the locker room starts to split. Imagine a scenario where Kyler Murray has a bad game, and the fans start chanting for the kid they spent a high pick on. It creates an atmosphere of instability that can ruin a season before it even starts. The Super Bowl pressure is real in Minnesota, and we don't have time for a quarterback controversy. Yet, by keeping both, that is exactly what the Vikings are inviting. They want the veteran resurgence of Murray and the late bloomer development of J.J. McCarthy. It is a balancing act that requires perfect coaching from Kevin O'Connell. Because this could become a situation where nobody feels like the true leader. We have elite talent like Justin Jefferson who truly deserves consistent quarterback play. If this experiment fails, we aren't just losing games. We are wasting the prime years of our best players. The Vikings are betting that JJ still has that it factor buried under the struggles of last year. They are looking at those 10 games and seeing flashes that the rest of us might have missed in our frustration. They are banking on the idea that he can still be the guy. But the reality is that the clock is ticking. Every day he sits on the bench is a day we aren't getting a definitive answer on his future. It is a state of perpetual what if that is starting to define this era of Vikings football. I am going to be totally honest with you all. This situation actually worries me quite a bit. I want to believe in the plan, and I want to see J.J. McCarthy succeed more than anyone else. But seeing the team bring in Kyler Murray feels like a safety net that has become a permanent fixture. I really like the move to bring in Kyler on a cheap deal. It is a very low-risk, high-reward play that a smart team should always make. But I think fans should pay attention to how JJ reacts to this. If he embraces the competition and learns from a veteran who has been to the Pro Bowl, this could be the best thing that ever happened to him. However, I have this nagging feeling that we might be trying to have it both ways and ending up with nothing. This could be incredible if Kyler leads us deep into the playoffs while JJ grows behind the scenes. Or, this could become a problem where we have no clear direction at the most important position on the field. I look at the way other teams handle their young QBs, and usually you either commit or you move on. The Vikings are trying to find a strange third path, and it is incredibly risky for everyone. My concern is that JJ might feel like the team has already given up on him, no matter what they say to the media. If I were in that room, I would be looking for any sign of that competitive fire. I want to see him fighting for that starting spot, even if the odds are against him every single day. This move to keep him and bring in Murray is a massive test of his character as much as his talent. I am cautiously optimistic because the upside of a rejuvenated Kyler Murray in this offense is terrifying for the rest of the league. But the emotional weight of JJ's future is still there. We cannot ignore it. As fans, we have to be patient, but we also have to be realistic. This year is going to tell us everything we need to know about the future of this franchise's identity. It is a defining moment for Kevin O'Connell's ability to manage big personalities. The story of the Minnesota Vikings quarterback room is far from over. In fact, it feels like we are only in the opening chapters of a very complicated saga. The decision to keep J.J. McCarthy while handing the keys to Kyler Murray is a gamble that will define the legacy of this current regime. There is so much unresolved tension here. We are heading into a season where every practice report and every preseason snap will be scrutinized. Will J.J. show that massive leap in mechanics we are all praying for, or will Kyler Murray remind the entire NFL why he was a first overall pick? The future is incredibly uncertain, and that is what makes being a Vikings fan so exhausting and exhilarating at the same time. Something bigger is definitely coming. Whether it is a triumphant comeback for the kid we drafted or a dominant season from a veteran looking for redemption, the stakes couldn't be higher. We need to stay united as a fan base because this journey is going to have some serious ups and downs. I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think keeping JJ is the right move, or should we have tried to get whatever we could in a trade? Does Kyler Murray make us a legitimate threat in the NFC? Let me know your thoughts below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to stay updated on everything happening with our team. We are the North, and we stand together. Skol Vikings!